and welcome to Brand and Becoming. I'm Keisha Sheikh, and I'm so glad that you can join me here. Every week, I'll be sharing the strategies, mindset shifts, and behind the scenes lessons that help you build a personal brand that people can trust and ultimately be able to buy from and work with. Some episodes, it's just going to be me, and other times, I'm joined by incredible guests with some amazing stories who've built careers, businesses, and brands that have changed their life. So let's settle in and enjoy today's conversation, and welcome to episode 3. Also, if you are here watching live or on the replay, please do comment when you are joining in from. And also let us know what your goal is for 2026. If you've got something that you're working towards, so I'll be really keen to see it. And also, it's about networking. So it'd be good to see who you are and also be able to network and how you build your network as well. Today, I'm joined by Jim Barker, Chief Revenue Officer at Cooperative Computing, with over 25 years of experience helping growth-focused organizations scale revenue through digital enablement and AI. So let's welcome Jim in. Hi,
Awesome.
Jim. How are you?
I'm doing great, Keisha. Great to see you this Monday.
Yeah, you too. You too. It's really good to see you, and thanks for joining me. I know we've spoken for quite a while, but I think yours definitely someone that I wanted to get on from all your experience, but also I think you've got some really good insights and hopefully tips to give people as well.
Well, I'll try to do my part on here, but thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. So, for anyone that doesn't know who you are, and I suppose for meeting you for the first time, how would you usually describe what you do?
Yeah, so I'm with a firm by the name of Cooperative Computing, based out of Dallas, Texas. We're a global digital enablement firm working with growth-focused organizations to help them accelerate into the automated economy. Many of those scenarios involve organizations that realize that they need to be on a digital journey and yet they're behind. And
Yeah,
so we help them come in and really focus on hyper automation, hyper personalization, making better data-driven decisions.
nice. And I think all that is super important now, isn't it? I think there's so much that can be done, but it's still maybe not done as well as it can be in using data, and personalization goes a long way now, doesn't it? Because I think there's so much out there that everyone's got access to, but people realizing that this person is actually reaching out to me or that it's personal to me just goes such a long way, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. We're in interesting times. We as we think about, on the journey. Typically, when we go into organizations and start working with them, we'll start in a lot of cases in the functional areas of the business that are somewhat in the early stages of an engagement with the client, like branding and marketing or sales and commerce. And it's interesting to me to see all of the new capabilities that come through those channels that yet don't completely reach the operations and fulfillment and customer engagement and other areas. So it's a fun time and a fun journey to be on. And yet at the same time, there's a lot out there that there's so many different new capabilities coming at
Mm.
such a rapid pace. It's hard to keep track of all of them.
Oh, definitely. And I think within everything now, isn't it? Even I suppose where my specialism is with LinkedIn, personal branding and marketing, and even LinkedIn alone and what we can do with it is changing
Uh,
all the time. So I think across the channels, it's even more so, isn't it? But what I've really realised is that I suppose how we used to be able to do things before, people are just smarter now and they don't want to feel like they're just getting a generic message or that you're speaking to everyone. So, like you say, that
yeah,
there's so much opportunity, but we almost want once it's done right, that's where I suppose the opportunity
absolutely.
comes from.
And data is so available to us. I'm reminded, as you mentioned, 25 years of experience. It reminds me how old I am, and I think about getting into sales. Now this would be 30 years ago. Technically, it's 30 years
Wow.
now. So when I got into sales 30 years ago, there were these books called the Yellow Page books that existed. That my first sales manager said, "Hey, here's your call list. Start calling on this." And at that point in time, 30 years ago, we didn't have LinkedIn that we could go look
Mm.
people up and see who's the proper contact. So there was a lot of work involved. Today, data is available to us at such a much more grand capacity that we can do a lot of study work and really personalize our outreach efforts whenever we're reaching out to folks as well.
Yeah, that's really true. Like you said, I think from how things were before when you first started out to now, that the opportunity and like how much is available to us so easily, it's almost because sometimes easy to forget, isn't it? Just who is actually there. But it's I suppose that's
Absolutely.
why we've got to be a bit smarter with what we're doing, and so do other people. I think because everyone's got the same access, it's almost like how do people stand out and how do you show that you're the best at what you do? But yeah, you are right. It's changed so much and almost become so available. But then it's how do you make sure that you as a person and you as an offering stand out the most?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of it's about the hard work that we put in too. There's still this element of will we do the extra work to go, figure out what's going if I'm reaching out to a company, I want to make sure that I know what's going on with their company and know a little bit more about my effort in reaching out to them. So a lot of it still goes back to the basics of how much study work are we willing to do, how much time are we, preparing to put into an
Hmm.
engagement, that pursuit. That's
Yeah,
the learning lessons of life.
yeah, definitely. And I suppose with all your years of experience, like you said, you started out 30 years ago. What would you say shaped your approach to business the most? Have you had something that's maybe stood out to you, or what shaped what you are doing?
Great question, Keisha. The probably the thing that stood out to me the most when I got into I just happened into kind of this technology space, and I would say about 25 years ago, I made a job change between the sales position that I took right out of college that I handled for about 5 years, and then moved into a different role. When I did that, I did it for a growth opportunity at the time. I was working for a really small business at the time, and I was doing it for a growth opportunity. And I realized pretty quickly the company that I went to work for, it was going to be a significantly different effort to achieve success there than what I'd been working with over the last 5 years. And so one of the things that, and I'm going to date myself again, but this was before the year 2000,
Mm,
where one of the things that the company I'd gone to work for had talked about was this was long before, a customer relationship management system was around. This was when you had contact management systems like Act and Goldmine and Daytime Organizer and some of these others that salespeople would put on their, they'd put on their desktop, and then they would do some outreach effort, but they'd keep track of it all themselves. No one else had any access to it. And I'll never forget the organization that I was working for. I learned really quickly there was this capability of integrating the phone and the computer. And again, this would have been 99. So
wow.
1999, the ability to integrate the phone and the computer was supposedly there, but no one had done it. And so I borrowed and probably bought lunch for an engineer friend of mine that worked with the organization 2 or 3 times to get him to help me set that up. And I set up Daytime Organizer. What a lot of us view today, and again, this is 1999, a lot of us view today is in a CRM capacity. So basically, I was connecting my computer with Daytime Organizer with my phone that I could make phone calls to prospective customers, and I had a headset on, and
Love that.
I could initiate it through the computer, and it would lift up the handset so it automatically do the out dial. And when people called me back, it would show me who was calling. And so at that point in time, I just learned the value of personalization, automation, and data. Personalization from the standpoint of when I was calling on these people, I was learning about their life and what was going on and keeping track of it. That way, the next time I called Keisha and said, "Hey, Keisha, I want to check on. I know last time we spoke, your dog was a little bit ill. How's your dog doing?"
Yeah.
Things of that nature that you could really personalize it. Automation in the standpoint of, that most of my peers at that time were picking up phones off the desk, dialing a number, asking for people, waiting for them to answer, hanging up and writing down notes on a little note list somewhere that they were supposed to be keeping track of. And then the data component of it is, it's really hard. Like if I'm calling Keisha back,
Mm,
if let's just say you said, let's reconnect in 3 months. If I reconnect in 3 months, it's going to be really hard for me to find those handwritten notes somewhere.
yeah.
But if I've got them in a data source, now I can see the value and go, oh, okay, in a matter of 30 seconds, I can be prepared for our call based upon the last conversation that we had. So it was really kind of a pivotal moment that shaped probably my behaviors since then to understand, oh wow, there's a way to do this, to do it really smart, and to help make sure you're not losing effort through that
Mm,
journey of building a relationship with someone that, as much as we all want to, be face to face and sit down in the same room together and all of that, the reality is it doesn't work that way. It's just like you and I right now, we're in different parts of the world having a conversation. And so this is more typical. And so the idea would be, hey, when you have those moments, maximize
yeah.
them in every capacity that you can. And so those three things that personalization, automation, data-driven decisions just stood out to me, which is a lot of what our efforts are today around digital enablement, how we go in and help organizations in those areas across the board. So we're doing it, not just in a sales capacity or marketing capacity, but we're doing it in operations, supply chain, fulfillment, those different areas as well.
Well, you were very advanced, then, weren't you, when you discovered all this? Because I think a lot of people back then probably weren't doing it or realising the opportunity with it as well. But now I think it's become more, people are realising we need to do more with data and how we can personalise things, because also it is a lot around the follow up, isn't it? And I think a lot of sales opportunities are lost in not following up and not sticking to what you say you're going to do, and not, like you said, the personalisation piece of like, oh, last time we spoke, you mentioned this, how's it going? It shows you actually care, and it's not so transactional.
Yeah, that's it. And that's really what it comes down to. It's less about having the information for no purpose. It's more about having the information to really build a relationship.
Yeah, show you care.
Yeah, and you mentioned being advanced. The truth is I was probably the least advanced, least technically competent person on the sales team at the time. I just happened to have a little bit more. I knew that I had to work hard, and I was stubborn enough to say, I'm going to make this work, to figure out how it will work. And once I figured it out, it worked really well. About a year and a half later, I get promoted into a role and was able to help the rest of the team enable that capability. And it led us to some nice growth. And so I was very thankful for going through that.
That's amazing.
Which you might call a little bit advanced. I wasn't advanced. I was just stubborn. I was stubborn enough to figure it out. And that stubbornness helped pay off for me.
Definitely. I suppose when you want something bad enough, you find a way, don't you? So you may not have realised. Hi, Clinton. I'm just going to show, I've just had a comment. So, hi, Clint. Hello, guys. Joining from the UK. Love the comparison with the Yellow Pages business directory back then. And it's funny how we scrape online platforms for prospects data. So, yeah, definitely changed, and a lot has changed.
Oh, yeah. Clinton nailed it. It's, if you think about the amount of data, like today, running any type of campaign you're running, most cases, we're even before this call, I'm jumping in and hitting your profile and just getting up to speed with what you've been up to over the last couple of weeks, because I know we haven't spoke. And so it's like, okay, great. Gives me the opportunity to catch up with you, see how things are going, and just continue. Like, it still goes as like, look, we're building relationships. A lot of these relationships today are digital relationships that we're building from afar. And so the more, preparation we have, we think about these times of the year, and we're going into, I'll say the holiday period, where people start spending time together. And normally you can just show up and get to spend time and enjoy the time with family and friends, and leave, and you'll get to go see them again next year. But in these environments, it's like, man, these are really limited, and we're not in the same room together, sharing food and drinks and everything. So it takes a little bit of extra effort to prepare, to say, I want to be really prepared. So, if it's, just checking out, there's a decent amount of tools available to us today that feed a lot of this data to us as well. So it's that extra effort that matters.
Well, like you said, it's the extra effort, but also it goes a long way, doesn't it? Because there's no reason why we can't get this information now. So it's almost like just doing that bit of extra work before a meeting or before a call or before we go live. It does help.
Yeah,
and thanks for that, Clinton. And do let us know also if you are joining live or watching on recording, but also what you're working on for 2026, because hopefully these live streams can help you with that, and hopefully Jim can as well with what we're going to talk around today as well. So with you talking a lot about digital, so it's presence data and what we can be doing with it, and I suppose it definitely, well, from my point of view, and I think you'd think the same, it's essential for sales teams now to be utilising what we've got available. When would you say that became clear to you? Was that all the way back then when you realised it all those years ago, when you kind of connected and were able to use data, or was it before then, or kind of more recently that you've realised how essential it is?
It probably started back then, Keisha, and I think it's become even more prevalent today. There's we tend to do it now. We've got at our fingertips now this thought partner that we tend to call AI, that allows us to go in and do a remarkable amount of research in a matter of minutes, as compared to what used to take hours. And so I would say that it started at that point, that I would say back in 1999. And it continues to grow over time, to understand that, if we think about it, and you and I get, we have salespeople that reach out to us a lot too. the ones that reach out to me that have put in the effort and have done a little bit of research, I can usually recognize really quickly. The
Hmm.
ones that have not, I can also usually recognize really quickly. And so the ones that we tend to pay attention to are the people that are willing to put in the work, because the biggest challenge, it's the, what's the old saying, the reason organizations typically resist consultants is because they think it's going to take them so long to help them understand the business.
Hmm.
And so when we've got someone that's putting in the extra effort in sales to understand the business up front and can really personalize their communication, and I can realize that they've taken the effort, it usually is pretty meaningful to me. Which means it's the same thing for our clientele. Most people are looking at it, how much research have you done, or am I one of 1,000 people that you're reaching out to today, and you're just hoping that I'm the one that's going to raise my
Yeah.
hand, schedule a meeting, if that makes sense.
You can almost, I'm totally with you on that. Feel like you almost message or reach out to a lot less people, but personalize them, and you'll get a lot more back. And
Absolutely, absolutely. It is, there's a balance of quantity and quality in
yeah,
efforts on pursuits, and yet today the quality aspect is it's much more visible. And we
yeah.
can read through it really quickly today, as even 5 or 10 years ago probably wasn't as clear to us as it is today.
I agree. And I think this even comes down to, it's something that I like work with the clients on, but also just tell people to do. Even it comes down to your LinkedIn profile. If you've not personalized that, if you've not made it clear who you help, how you help them, then you're just confusing a buyer who now are very smart. And also, like you say, you can notice who's putting the effort, who hasn't. So personalizing your profile for your ideal audience in mind, but also something that I've been doing more recently, and also getting clients to do, which has been working well. I don't know if you've done much around it, but on LinkedIn is sending voice notes, because you can't get much
Yeah.
more personal than that as as an initial out. Obviously, you can do video as well, but voice notes are really easy just to send. But then at least the person knows, like, oh, hi Jim, how are you? Just had a look at your profile, realised you've been up to X, Y, Z. How are things going? Whatever you want to ask, but at least to know, one, I know who you are. I've looked at your profile, and three, I'm real, and I'm not just a kind of, you know, and do mass outreach, and I actually care. I've come on your profile. I've got a real voice. I'm a real person.
Yeah, and it reminds me too, Keisha, of the different communication modals that we have available to us today.
Mm.
There's text, there's WhatsApp, there's phone calls, there's email, there's social messaging. There's all these different methods of communicating, and in a lot of cases, what we're finding is we're starting to capture what's the preference for our customers more and more, so that as we know, they need notifications around different things, whether it's
Yeah,
events that are taking place or whatever. We start measuring and understanding, how does Keisha respond? Well, if Keisha responds a lot more to text than
yeah,
she ever does email, we need to have that as a learnable, a communication path within our systems, which is what we've built into our systems to say, hey, let's identify, almost like a customer data platform, Keisha's preference on communication. And we communicate with her, let's personalize that messaging back to her in that particular moment. Sometimes it just takes some work to figure out what that is. As we have to, as we're building a relationship and communicating with people over time, we start identifying, okay, every time I text her, she responds. When I email, it takes 6 days for her to respond. And that, by the way, that would be me. I'm the
yeah,
guy that I typically respond pretty quickly to text, at least within the next few hours. If I'm in another meeting or something, I might not, but within a few hours. Email is usually like a once a day activity for me. So it's kind of like I need to check it at the end of the day to see if there's anything, critical I need to follow up on. If not, I'll try to get caught up on a few emails and I go into the next day. Sometimes I get caught up on those emails the next morning, but I'm that person with text. So the people that are reaching out to me, if they're reaching out to me very often, they should know by now that I'm much better with text than I am with email. That's just one example.
I think that's really powerful, isn't it? And it's like being where your prospects and customers are, but also communicating with them how they prefer to be communicated with is amazing. Because, like you say, if you keep, let's say, message them on LinkedIn, or even let's say you're on Instagram, but actually know that they're on LinkedIn, like, be in the right places. But also, if they
Yeah.
respond more to WhatsApp than an email, then it's communicating with them in a way that they respond to, like you say. So that's really good that you're doing that. Have you noticed? Have you been able to see more, like, the stats that it's improved in terms of
Oh yeah.
switching? Yeah.
Significantly. We actually did a project for a client where we where we help them identify those things. They had, we're not dealing with hundreds of thousands of people on a daily basis. They were dealing with hundreds of thousands of people, at least on like a monthly basis.
Yeah.
And they needed to understand how they were communicating. So that exercise helped us, identify, oh, wait a second, we don't have to do this on as grand of a scale, but we could still do the same thing to identify some of this. And so, and it's interesting, we have more choices than ever before. We talk about in some of our talk track around, digital enablement. Today we have this global impatience taking place where we as consumers, and we've got to remember we're all consumers. Everyone listening to this, we're all a consumer. And we tend to think about a customer or consumer as someone else, and it's really us too. And if we think about that, there's this element of choices that we have where now we can get miraculous things done. I can get what I want within the time frame I want at the price I want. And it's pretty simple. As recent as this weekend, we've got this coverage now in our neighborhood for grocery delivery via drones. So we have drones that deliver, groceries in our neighborhood. Well, I say even before this weekend, go back 2 weeks, and for Thanksgiving that we celebrate here in the States, it's usually a big cooking event. My wife usually cooks a lot for it. We have family over, and it usually gets a little bit chaotic because lo and behold, something's forgot.
Yeah.
She does a remarkable job, but there's a recipe that has one ingredient that she didn't get. And so that usually is an annual occurrence of me running to the store as fast as I can to get what it is so I can get back in time for her to keep the cooking going. And this year it was remarkable because we could really get on this little device we all carry around in our pocket, and within about 2 minutes have it ordered, and 17 minutes later dropped in our backyard the very groceries that would have taken me longer than 20 minutes to drive to the store to get them. We had them within 20 minutes. And so, we're given these options these days of there's so much available to us that we can make decisions at such a more rapid pace. And we have a variety of decisions to make that it creates some challenges in a sales capacity for how do you get in there in that customer journey and figure out a way to add value so that you're part of that experience.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, we are all consumers, but also I think I've got, I suppose, we more demanding with what we want, how we want it, and more impatient. But also that's why it's so important for when we are, on the other end of it, wanting to sell or wanting to kind of work with clients. It's understanding what they want also, and making sure it's relevant and useful and beneficial, and not just what we think that they want.
Absolutely.
Where would you say AI generally helps sales teams move faster, and I suppose where do humans still matter the most? I know we need AI, but also we need humans. But that's where I see things. But I suppose it's a blend of who does what and how to blend both of them. And sorry for those who are listening. I am dog sitting this week, my mum's dog. So if you do hear him, that's why.
There's a couple of things, Keisha. So when you think about when we think about artificial intelligence, since generative AI, we'll say since ChatGPT here three years ago, whatever it's been now, since then it's at the forefront of what everyone's doing. We're all thinking about it. We all now have practical use cases that we can use for ourselves for different reasons. This could be for any reason in the world, whether it's even sitting around with our family over the holidays and playing trivia, asking questions, whatever. We got the answers right on our phone. So and you can get to them in a different way than you ever could before. And in the past, we would do a search and click through a bunch of links to figure out what the answers are. Now we can just go ask the question. It gives us the answers and then gives us the sources as to where it got the answers. So there's been a lot that's advanced over the last 3 years. What's interesting is in our background, I'll say our CEO and I have been together. This is our third venture together. Our last venture together was an AI company. It's a conversational AI company. And so in that particular space, artificial intelligence was being used. It just wasn't being used. It was kind of being used behind the scenes. It wasn't being used in a capacity like a use case where people could go in and play around with it. What I mean by that is we were doing things like, if you think about when you're calling in or communicating with an organization and you call in and it says, press 1 for this, press 2 for that. That's an old interactive voice response technology that says, hey, there's a tree here. You're going to choose things and eventually get to who you want to talk to or the answers that you want. And what we were doing at that moment in time is we had a conversational AI platform that basically you called into. If it recognized your number, it'd say, "Hey, Keisha, happy Monday. How can we serve you today?" And as you spoke, it would just detect, and instead of sending you through this tree of 12 different choices to finally get what you want, you would say something specific and be like, "Oh, okay, that's what you're wanting. Is this what you're wanting?" Yep. And it'd take you right there. And so you don't have to go through that. So artificial intelligence has been around for decades.
Mm-hmm.
It just so happens it's made it mainstream through, this generative AI, Chat GPT, Claude, all these different platforms that are now out offering the capability. So what's interesting with that is I would have said, if you'd asked me 4 years ago, how's it made its way in? It probably still hadn't made its way in at that point. Now it's definitely made its way into the work life of almost every salesperson. I will say most successful salespeople in the world are using some type of generative AI today to help them with some degree of pursuit, creating documentation, capturing notes, recording calls and converting those recorded, whatever it might be. There's a ton of different applications and they're extremely valuable. Today, one of the things people, I get asked a lot, like, okay, you're in this space. So what's the coolest AI tool that you see available, that you've witnessed? And I say, oh, there's a lot of cool ones. The one I use the most is a really basic one, and it's just recording calls. So it's like, I have an AI recorder, sets on my calls, it records my calls. At the end of my call, I don't have to take notes on next steps. It's got them all. It throws it directly into my CRM. So I've got a meeting record that's automatically created. I don't have to type anything. I don't have to do anything.
So good.
I'll automatically create it. It's now, it's given me the minutes format of my meeting. It's given me the action items. I can have it turn on the action items in our CRM if I want to, so that it tees me up for the next 4 things I need to do. And I can really listen and pay attention to what's going on instead of what I used to find myself doing, which was saying, hang on, Keisha, can you repeat that? What were you saying? And I'm like trying to take notes on it. Now I've got all that note taking and the ability to go back and play it, listen to it, see it if I need to, and all that. So there's little things.
It's so good. I don't think a lot of people, I know I have a lot of, speak to a lot of different people and clients, but I don't see a lot of people utilizing that as well as they can. It's so simple, isn't it? But I think you're definitely using it as well as you can be, for sure. Like making sure that it's in your CRM and you've got the actions. But I think having that is so powerful compared to what we used to have to do, write notes. Then you're looking down, so not even engaging properly with the client or the prospect, and then you obviously miss things. So then you're trying to talk, then you're trying to write notes.
Well, you can in our space and the clients that we're dealing with. Sometimes the conversations get very detailed. Sometimes it's technical, sometimes it's not, but either way, it's very detailed. And when we have that detailed recording, it's at least probably once a week that I'm taking a meeting note, tagging someone into it and saying, hey, Jane, go check out the second bullet point on the second item above. That's 12 minutes in, where he's talking about this. We need to talk to, 2 engineers about what this actually means, whatever it might be. And she can listen to it and go, oh, wow, okay. Oh, this, and she can come back and go, Jim, this is what he's saying. This was what we did for this client, a year and a half ago. And it helps me connect the dots, but it's just that simple, I've got everything there. I now grab that meeting note, tag her into it. She comes back and says, this is what, this would be an answer for something like that. And now it helps, expedite the process so that I'm not trying to jot that down, calling and talking to a couple of engineers. They're asking me 4 questions I can't answer. So I have to go back to the customer. Instead, I just give them the recording. They listen to it, go, oh, okay, based upon what he's saying, here's how we go about doing something like that. So it becomes helpful in so many ways.
That's definitely. Is there anyone that you are using that you'd recommend?
We use Fathom.
Yeah, Fathom, that's quite a good one.
Yeah, we use Fathom. It integrates with HubSpot. HubSpot's our CRM. Works really well. I know I've captured all my notes in HubSpot every time. If I've ever got someone that comes on the team that I says, hey, I'm bringing in a new salesperson and they're now going to take over these 3 accounts. They have history of recordings that they can go through and listen to.
That's so helpful. Get up to speed, get trained on it, rather than you're trying to almost then relay what you've done with them and who they are.
Exactly.
So, when I was looking at one, I either looked at, I think they're all quite, the good ones are quite similar, but I use Otter, but I think Fathom's really good as well. I think they're all generally good. Have you found, I suppose it's a little bit off topic, but not. Have you found when you're using it to you at the start of meetings, and so this is helpful for other people? Have you found anyone be a bit like, oh, who's that in the meeting, or do you ask for permission that Fathom's there recording, or how do you go about that?
About once a month, I'll be on somewhere around 40 to 50 meetings a month.
Yeah,
And around once a month, someone may say something like, "Hey, what? Oh, is that?" They may bring it up, and about once every 2 or 3 months, someone says, "Hey, can we not record this?" And sometimes it's they're giving sensitive information, they don't want it recorded. Sometimes they're just uncomfortable because they haven't seen it. But
yeah,
again, a lot of people say, "Well, doesn't that come across the wrong way?" And I say, "Well, I'm on 40 to 50 meetings a month, and I'm about once or twice a month someone asks me about it. Otherwise, it just rides alongside me. It takes notes
yeah,
for me. Now I've got all my notes, and if anyone ever asks, I just say, look, it's staying within our organization. It's going to stay within our CRM, and our teams can have access to it. But if you need me to disable that, I can disable that, or I can even turn it off. And so, like I said, once or twice a month, I may turn it off, but that's about it.
people are getting more used to it, aren't they? So I'll say I've had it rarely, but I have had it maybe once or twice, but rarely that someone would say. Because generally, I think we're getting more accustomed to it. Like, oh, that's not that's a note taker, or people. I think we're
Yeah,
becoming more aware as to what's going on, and especially with
yeah,
meetings a lot. Generally, it's kind
yeah.
of it's kind of
And
people are
most
becoming used to it, aren't they?
Yeah, most people have realized that the access to data these days is significant. So it's
Mm,
almost like you're going to find out so much. We're such a transparent society now that the
yeah,
data is available that we're using interestingly enough with a lot of our client opportunities now we're using third party data a lot. So as an example, we've got a chain of hotels as clients of ours in New Zealand, and what's as important to them about the data that they're getting out of, they've got 14 different systems that they get data from, and we basically have built the capability for all their leadership team to have real-time dashboards with that data available for them anytime they want. Interestingly enough, what we started about 6 months ago is bringing in third-party data for them, and so that's like competitive rate information on other hotels around them, things
nice.
like that become really, really valuable for them. And so I go back to saying a lot of people are so worried about, hey, I don't know if I want to give you this information. It's like, hey, the information's out there.
Yeah,
It's like when
whether you
one of
like
these,
it or not, isn't it?
that's
It's
right.
out there.
Yeah. When one of these hotels that's a competitor to our client, adjusts their rates down $20 a room per night, everyone knows it, whether or not they know it or not. It's like, it can be picked up pretty quickly and communicated. So you're not giving away anything secretive so much.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like you said, there's so much data available, so whether you want it to be there or not, it's almost just a given that we can all get it quickly as well. Now it's not as difficult, is it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And
What?
we're in such a massive shift right now where
Mm,
data is becoming more and more available, and people are making more and more decisions based upon data.
yeah.
And so it'll continue to be it'll everything going on with AI will only magnify the opportunity to leverage more data driven decisions than ever before.
Well, it's important, isn't it, to not just have it but use it. Even things like for, let's say, LinkedIn or social media. From my side of things, it's like looking at when people are most active online. So when are people mainly responding to posts? Because if we just always posting at the times where people aren't active, then again that's not very helpful. So if we can see when people are active, what kind of demographic are viewing posts and analytics from the data of what we are posting, what's working, what's not working, then we can do better posts for next time or kind of work with that as well. So that's the way that I like to use data, because there's no point of just keep posting for the sake of it, not doing very
Yeah,
well with impressions or not reaching the right audiences. Let's look at, almost work backwards. Let's look at who it is reaching, what kind of times that they're active, and then let's do more posts around those times where we know that they're going to be viewing your post and engaging.
that's exactly it. That's like I say, that's the days of now since I've dated myself. That's the days of showing up at the Chamber of Commerce events on time. It's like,
Yeah,
if you miss that 30-minute networking window and you get into the events, you might not get to meet the people that you need to meet. So it's kind of like it's really important to try to be there on time, and that it goes along with the same thing. Now we're
yeah,
such a digitally social community that now it's no different. It's just the timing of when do you want to post that makes makes it more valuable.
Yeah,
can
definitely.
can
I
make it
agree.
more valuable for sure.
And I suppose with that, I suppose we're talking around how things are more digital now and modern. What would you say a modern salesperson needs to do differently today compared to 5 years ago?
The easy one's going to be generative AI. I mean, I
Mm,
think that's. But I'll say probably, Keisha, the come in with a strong sense of curiosity. What
mhm,
was interesting, if you just look back to like what we had just shared, and like I said, I'll go back 25 years. 25 years ago, the curiosity I had limited information on, very limited information. I had a yellow page listing. It had the name of the company, and that was pretty much it. Every once in a while, they would have a big enough ad in the yellow pages that might have an owner's name I could call and ask for the owner. But I didn't need to be curious. I needed to be active. I needed to
mhm,
pick up the phone and make 91 phone calls a day. I knew that would make me X number of 3 appointments a day. I could, that was my starting out. And over time, I got better and better where I didn't need to make that many phone calls. But the curiosity didn't do a tremendous amount for me in that pursuit effort. So I didn't even
mm,
think of that effort. I just thought of the effort as I got to complete this page and this page today. I
yeah,
didn't think of it in the capacity of, I wonder what they're, now we can get in and look and I can see, what Keisha's up to, everything. And then I could think, what's of value to her? If I start looking down your profile and reading down through your profile, I can usually pick up, I can look at your business, see what's going on in your business. And I can get really curious around, okay, so I think there's a couple of things that I would encourage salespeople to come in understanding. One is the connotation of sales is as no matter what anyone wants to say, it's always been a decently negative connotation. It's usually
mm,
people that just reach out over and over and try to sell me. And I would say, one, come in with a lot of creativity and curiosity
yeah, love
uh,
that.
around helping whoever you're calling on, whether it's Keisha, whether it's Keisha's business, whoever it is.
Mm,
Be curious and creative around ways that you can help them. And sometimes that involves the product or services that you're bringing. Sometimes it involves connections that you're making.
mm,
So the thing I would encourage is have an abundant mindset around creativity and curiosity, because the tools today are greater than they've ever been. This is we've never seen a time where the tools are greater. Now, at the same time, we've never seen a time where it's harder to reach an audience
yeah,
because there's so much information coming at all of us at such a rapid pace. I think when I got in this morning, I had 17 emails from people, wanting me to consider doing solicitors that are salespeople
yeah,
getting us and so it's like, okay, so now I've got to go through that and say, okay, which ones, if I'm going to pay attention to any of them right now, because I really need to make sure I'm hitting my key emails to my clients. But if
mhm,
I am going to do that, what's going to grab my attention? In most cases, it's people that have thought through real creatively. They've personalized it so they can understand, some of what's going on. Hey, Jim, I noticed that you posted about this, or I noticed that you guys, your success story on that, was wondering if you guys considered anything like this. It's that curiosity element that gets me usually sparked. And I think
yeah,
that's what we need as salespeople. We're going to need to be better in that area of creativity and curiosity in our pursuits,
yeah,
especially in
I agree.
pursuits of new relationships.
They're really good points there. And also, I think the big thing that you said there is how can you help people? How can you help your prospects? And also how you can add value to them, because it shouldn't just be one track minded of let's sell, sell, sell. Because, like we said, buyers are so smart now that they want more than that. They want you to be a place of resource value, like consultative, actually helping them rather than here
Yeah,
buy what I've got, because they need to make sure that they know the benefit, but also that you can actually help them. You can be a good person to be connected to, or you can help them by introducing them to someone or help them with their problem. And then if it leads to a sale, great.
yeah,
Obviously, that's what we're all in business of some kind, or trying to kind of work with people. But I think but yeah, I agree with that.
yeah.
Salespeople it's so much more than that. If you want to do a good job, it's actually lead with curiosity, but also helping people, and how you can help people and your prospects the most is generally it all comes back around, doesn't it?
Yeah, and and the interesting thing for us today, Keisha, is we got this tool at our fingertips that can help us with our creativity with
Yeah,
generative AI. I can go jump into Chat GPT and have a conversation. There's actually a book called The AI Driven Leader, and I don't know the gentleman, but he's out of Austin, Texas. His name's Jeff Woods. He wrote it here a couple of years ago, and he talks about how AI is now a good thought partner, but reminds us that you're the thought leader. So remember,
Right.
you're the leader. You've got somebody over here that can collaborate, creatively think with you and expand your own thinking. But it's
Yeah.
not like give it to that and let it go. It's more of it's a good collaboration tool to identify that creativity and curiosity. Like it's simple prompts to go in and say, hey, I'm meeting with Keisha today, and throwing your LinkedIn URL in there and saying, just catch me up to speed on anything that's gone on with her in the last 2 weeks I need to be thinking of. It's amazing how it starts producing some things. And as we
So
get better
good.
and better at doing those types of things, the more and more we can leverage, AI for that help with creativity and curiosity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I think again, not a lot of people think about it like that or think they can use it in that kind of way, or they can use AI to actually help with research or curiosity or just keeping up to speed with people. Because another thing that I get clients to do is, because with LinkedIn it's important to comment and engage and kind of network, but almost looking at a post, and instead of, so one of the things I hear a lot is I don't know what to comment, or I haven't got any
Yeah.
ideas of what to comment. But there's no reason why you can't go and copy that post, put it into your AI, whether it's ChatGPT or another AI, and say, give me some valuable comments that I can leave on this post to Jim, for example. Um, maybe it's to ask a question, or maybe it's actually adding value. But then it'll give you a list of, let's say, three to five
Yeah.
comments that you can leave. Obviously, you can add your own spin on it, or you can kind of personalize it if you want to personalize it even more. But you don't always have to think about things from scratch. Yes, like you said, you be the leader and you lead it, but we can actually utilize it for so much more than I suppose people generally use it for as well.
Yeah. And sometimes people think, I've talked to a couple of people who said, yeah, but isn't that kind of like cheating? And I said, no, I don't see it as cheating at all. And see it as cheating at all, primarily because if you're starting from zero to come up with something,
Mm,
sometimes you need to go, I might, that if I've got communication with you and I'm thinking, okay, I need to get back with Keisha. There's oftentimes I'll walk into Brent's office, our CEO here, and say, hey, let me bring you up to speed a little bit on what Keisha and I've been working on, and I need to get back with her on this. Here's kind of
mm,
a thought. What would you add to it? It's no different. It's
yeah,
just so happens it's right here for me. I can just use it right here and play around with it. Now, I may still come up with something and walk in there and say, hey, what are your thoughts on this, to get his additional thoughts? But I've got something that I can actually dialogue with now
yeah.
with AI to communicate and come up with some of those ideas. And then it's like you said, when you pick one, that is you. It's like,
Yeah, that's it. And it's
it,
it's still the effort of going, looking at the post, wanting to engage with it, then putting it into, it's just like you said, getting that extra support, and it's about working smart, but still be personal. So I
yeah,
think the human element still needs to come into it, but it's still the effort of you doing it because you wanted to do it, and I think that's where the difference
yep,
is. It's just getting that support. So
yep.
we have a segment now, which is a bit of fun, but also be interesting to see what you say. And also, if you are listening and tuning, feel free to comment what you think as well in the comments for each of these. So the segment is brand truth or brand myth. So this is, do you think that this is a truth or a myth? So
Okay.
the first one is AI reduces the need for salespeople. Is that a brand truth or brand myth?
Hmm. I think it can be a brand truth, but in most cases, I think it's a brand myth. I think it enhances the capability of salespeople. Now, the question then becomes, can you do more with less? And sometimes you can. And that's no different than any sales organization. If you think about most if you got that organization that I was a part of that I referenced earlier had about 220 salespeople.
Hmm.
Every year, 20 of them were gone. And so it's kind of
Yeah,
like, okay, the lower tier were moved out and others were moved in. And so I think it's a little bit like that with AI. I think AI can help elevate the people who want to who
yeah.
want to leverage it and
Who
want
are
to,
curious.
yeah, they're curious. They're committed to getting better results.
Yeah,
So it can, but I think overall, I really think it's a myth. I don't see AI selling for us. I've had this saying for years: people buy from people, and
yeah.
so if they didn't, they'd just go to an e-commerce website and buy it through an e-commerce website. Otherwise, they don't need the people, and so
So
we
true.
we tend to buy from each other. We use a lot of tools, and so I'll say presentations don't sell, people do.
Mm,
Proposals don't sell, people do. Same thing. AI is not going to sell, but the people are. And if the people who use AI are usually going to sell more than the people who don't
Yeah,
use AI, if that makes
that's
sense.
it. No, I totally agree with you then. It's like I suppose the good sellers will get better because they'll be using AI and being curious and wanting to help people more, and will be like, wow, there's so much opportunity here that I can use. But then, like I say, that maybe the people that aren't so good, generally they probably aren't as curious or don't want to find a way, even if it was before they had all the options.
That's
But
right.
people do buy from people, and that's why my background being with headhunting and recruiting, generally if you move to different agencies or companies, people follow you around, don't they? They want to kind of go to where you are as a person rather than the company. That's what I've seen. But even within technology and kind of sales, people, if you've moved somewhere and people like you, or your client liked you, or a stakeholder liked you, they're going to want to help you, or they're going to want to work with you in some kind of capacity.
That's right. That's right.
The next one is a brand truth or brand myth. Digital sales will replace face to face.
This is a good one. You picked some really strong ones here. I believe that our world has gone digital, so I'd have a tough time calling that a myth because we do transact so much digitally these days.
Hmm.
Even my reference to the drone, it's like who would
Yeah,
have thought 10 years ago that you would have a drone fly over your house and drop down groceries for you. And to me, if I never go into another grocery store again, that'll be a good day for me. I'm not a shopper. I'm not
yeah,
good at it. When I walk in there, I don't know where I'm going. I look around. It's like I don't know what I'm doing. So it's easier for me just to say, here's what I need. Can someone get it for me? And so I do think there's an element of digital sales that's getting to a place where and we're all, we've created this global economy now that we're all interacting with people differently. That
hmm,
example I used earlier, that Yellow Page book was for Tarrant County, which was Fort Worth, Texas at the time. Here you and I are talking from around the world from each other. And so
yeah,
I had a call earlier this morning, is a different area of the world. And so there's this element of now we're much more global in nature. So
hmm,
digital has the help for sure. I'm not sure that it completely replaces, because ultimately what I would strongly desire to be sitting right there in the room with Keisha having this
yeah,
conversation. The reality is digital enables us to be as close to that as possible.
yeah. That's a good answer. I think digital's great, isn't it? Because we can, like you say,
Yeah,
work globally, do things, more efficiently. But I do also enjoy the face-to-face elements, whether that's like going to a networking event or a
absolutely.
dinner or something like that with whether it's the industry or kind of clients or whoever it may be. I think it's nice to be able to. I definitely get more done, throughout the day working in this kind of way. But I do think that human element is also a
Yeah,
nice to have, isn't it? And I think it just makes the whole when you've been working like this for so long, it's then makes that relationship even stronger, doesn't it? Like, oh, you actually are
that's
like a
right.
human, and like going out for dinner or going for like an event or wherever it may be. I think the human element is just makes things even more real, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And you think about that, you can take into the scenario just what you talked about. There's
Yeah.
going out to eat now. We I know, I don't know about you, but I know here we do a lot of like Uber Eats and things like that. And so it's kind of like, man, sometimes there's now this element of we get really busy, and yet at the same time, I can have food brought in more regularly than I ever could have before. So if we're going
Mm,
to do team's going to stay here and do some work during lunch or something, it's much easier to bring in lunch because we don't have the two or three places that we can get a delivery service to get them here. We can pretty much order from anywhere and they'll get them here. If that makes sense.
yeah, it's a lot easier, isn't it? A lot more accessible. So
Yeah.
I've just got a couple more questions for you, and thank you. This has been really valuable, really, yeah, and really insightful, but also some really good tips for people as well. So I want to talk a bit about personal brand. I know we've talked a lot about digital and the importance of it and AI. I suppose, how important do you think it is for leaders and salespeople to build their personal brand in the kind of current era? Do you think obviously AI is one thing, isn't it? But actually posting content and being visible as a salesperson and as a leader, I suppose they're two different types of roles. But do you think that they're equally as important for a leader and a salesperson? Do you think they're important at all? What's your view on, I suppose, building a personal brand?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question. I think I've been married 32 years now, raised
Ah,
three daughters, and there's an element of what I'll say the Barkers stand for.
yeah,
It's around helping people for good. It's around welcoming people in when, it's like we're going into this time here. It's decently cold here. And as you go into these times here in the States, and we just came off of Thanksgiving, we're going into other holidays, Christmas and New Year's and all that. There's this need for helping people. And so I say there's this element of what the Barkers stand for, which each of us as 5 members of our core team need to show up and perform that way. And so there's not much difference for me, the way I look at that and an organization. So for cooperative computing, you'll see that I'm an ambassador for the organization. I should be. I think everyone should be. I do believe that, especially with salespeople, there's this element of people buy. The days of people buying B2B, business to business at all without doing a little bit of research are over. No one does it at all. Everyone at least hits someone's website. They often look them up on LinkedIn. They may go really deep. And look, this is me too. I'm the same way. So sometimes I may overstudy something, but the reality is we have so much information available to us, we can study it. And so I think that it's critically important. I think that, what a person stands for needs to be known for you to be impactful. I think what an organization stands for and is able to help people get results around needs to be known. And without properly having a brand around either of those, I think it's going to be a ridiculously tough battle to win in the world of sales, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that answer. And congratulations on being married for so long and having 3 daughters. I think that's it. I think it is, again, you've used that word, helping people, and actually, I suppose, being a good person. And I suppose letting people know that and being consistent with it is a big thing, because I think people buy from people is one of my favorite sayings as well. But I think being consistent with showing up, talking about what you're doing, or kind of adding value, builds trust as well. Because like you say, when people research you, whether you've done some outreach to them, whether they've met you through an event, or whether they've come across you, they're going to look into, even if it's for 5 minutes or longer, they're going to look at, is this person real? Do they care? And then when they're connected to you, it's just about being consistent and front of mind and helping and adding value to them.
Yep.
And it does go a long way.
Absolutely. And it builds trust a lot faster. I mean, that's where I think you're going. It's like the more I'm vulnerable and say, here's who I am, here's what I stand for, here's what I'm all about, the quicker you can connect to, is that anything that's important to you? It's like, no, if he stands for that, I'm not sure that's what. So there's some elements.
Resonate with the right people then, don't you? People that are like you. And then generally what you find is when you get onto that meeting or a sales call or whatever it may be, however you kind of interact with people at the next stage, it's warmer because they've already seen what you're posting, or they already see what you're up to and what kind of person you are. So it's a warmer approach then, rather than, okay, who are you? Like, I mean, it's kind of almost, it feels a nicer kind of way in, because they've already got that trust.
They already feel like they know you to a certain degree. It is amazing to me how many people I talk to, just as me, usually once a month, someone that I talk to mentions something about, hey, but by the way, I saw even like I did a video on LinkedIn on the drone deal here a week or so ago. I came out of an automation seminar and I thought these robots were running around, giving out drinks and food and everything, and they didn't have people doing it; they had robots doing it. And
cool.
So I did one on the drone delivery service, and I've had like 3 or 4 people talk to me about it ever since I did that post. And so it's that element of it gives people the ability to see the human side of who we are, and then to identify as that's something that and so with those particular people, it was meaningful.
Yeah, no, that it definitely goes a long way. And the final question, and again, thank you for coming on. Hopefully, if you have tuned in, it's been valuable and helpful for you. And do comment if you found this useful, and do connect with Jim after. I'll make sure that your details are there. But I suppose the question that I've got for you, as we're called Brand and Becoming, is what are you becoming next? What does the next chapter look like for you?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question. What am I becoming next? Where I am on my journey, I would say, is to extremely passionate about helping younger people come in and get a good start.
Nice.
I have 3 daughters now in the work world. I've seen some of their challenge getting into their roles, and while their roles are really different than mine, there's still this element of adapting and getting into a work world where, I sometimes think, oh, because I grew up a sales guy,
Hmm.
I'm used to these tools. And what I'm realizing is I have one daughter that's in social work that works for a nonprofit organization here locally. And they struggle with not having some of the very things that most businesses have just because of how they're funded and all of that. And the ability to go in and help enable them with things like CRM to have
Hmm.
where she's calling on contacts. She's not in sales, but her outreach effort is to promote the information that she's sharing to help out young people
Yes.
that may have problems in their life. And she has people that she's reaching out to, counselors at school, different types of people.
Yeah.
And so her efforts of doing that have I saw, coming into the work world, it's like, oh my gosh, they need a CRM. And so it's like
Mm.
part of my where I'm going is I need to be a better steward and help of that kind of stuff to help people. And there's a lot of them out there that are, getting into it that don't have the, 30 years of experience that we've had. And while we laugh and say, oh my gosh, these people are coming in with so much more, to them it's not so much more, it's brand new. So it's like
Yeah.
we've got to help them understand, like, now that you have this information, now what do you do with it? And so that's what I'm building next, is my ability to help young people coming into the workforce and maximize the opportunity that they have in front of them and help them get better results.
That's amazing. I think it's a really nice thing to do, but like you say, it's helpful, but also going to add to the network and the community by doing that, because the fact that they need to be doing it and getting the message out there, but maybe don't have the funds or the way to do it, and you can help them with that. I think that goes a
That's
long way.
right.
And I suppose mentoring people that are coming through and up and coming does go a long way. And often that you've made that your input, even if it's little or big, it may make a
Yeah.
big impact in their, I suppose, careers
Yep.
as well, and what they're doing.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Jim. I've loved having you on. How is best for people to connect with you? Is it on LinkedIn on your profile?
LinkedIn's perfect. That's my handle there is Jim Barker 22, which is the same across all my social platforms. So you can hit me anywhere at Jim Barker 22. But yeah, LinkedIn's perfect. I appreciate you having me on here. Appreciate the dialogue. It's always good. It helps expand my thinking too, Keisha. So I've really enjoyed it. Hope those listeners got something valuable out of it. At least they did out of your part, I know.
Yeah, no, well, you've been amazing, so thank you, and I'm sure they have. And I am live again tomorrow, so check out my profile so you've got the details for that, and also the event from today
Awesome.
with Jim will be live as well for everyone, so we'll make sure that's shared also. So thank you, everyone, and have a really good week. And like I say, thanks again, Jim, and
You
I'll
bet.
speak to you soon. Bye bye.
Thanks, Keisha.